I'm Maura Carley, founder and president of Healthcare Navigation, and today we're going to talk about Medicare Part D, as in drugs. And we are going to be very selective about what we discuss today because there's an awful lot to cover with respect to Part D. So let's start out by describing what it is, how it works, how it's administered, and so on. And we'll touch on other aspects of it in another video. But Part D is the part of Medicare that began in 2006, so many decades after original Medicare, because Congress was concerned that passing an outpatient drug benefit would, let's face it, break the bank because drugs in the United States are so expensive. So it's a much maligned part of Medicare because people who have come from very rich corporate plans find Part D disappointing, but other people had no alternative for drug coverage once they went onto Medicare, unless they had retiree medical or they bought limited coverage through a supplement. So although maligned, it is a very, very important protection. I think the other reason it's been rather maligned is its convoluted benefit structure, originally with a donut hole, which we can briefly go over. But Congress did that for a reason. And basically, the convoluted benefit design was intended to invite people to enroll in Part D. You always want people to sign up for a product and spread the risk. And then the other objective was to provide the most protection to the people with the most potential for devastating drug expense. And so between those two, the initial coverage period and the catastrophic level, you had a convoluted benefit design. It's still complex, but it's richer than it used to be. So who needs Part D? In our view, everyone on original Medicare should have drug coverage. So in our view, everyone on original Medicare should have drug coverage. And then, of course, as we've discussed, the alternative to original Medicare is Advantage plans. And one would think that all Advantage plans would have drug coverage built into them, but oh no, just most do. So there's always, and that's just a wacky thing, but it is what it is. So be on the lookout for that. If you enroll in an Advantage plan that does not have drug coverage built into that, then you need to purchase a Part D plan. I want to mention that Part D plans are administered in a way that is similar to how Advantage plans are administered. So Part D is a government benefit, but it's administered by private drug plans competing with one another. So when you go to look at your options in a typical metropolitan area, you are likely to have 20-some different Part D options, which is too many in our view, but that is the reality of it. And they are tied to where you live, like an Advantage plan. But let's talk about how this benefit is structured. The plans have a deductible, although there can be a deductible of 0. The government defines what the maximum deductible is, and this year that's $445. And many, many plans are structured with that level deductible. And of course, if the deductible is higher, the premium is lower. But you might be thinking, well, that seems odd to me since Part D started in 2006, that you could have that high a deductible, and Part B started in 1966, and the deductible is a set $203 for everybody. So, again, we just put that in that's wacky, all right, but it is what it is. So you have a deductible, and then you have an initial coverage phase. And during that phase, you're generally paying 25% of the cost of your drug, and your plan is paying the other 75%. And you might stay in that category all year long if you don't have expensive drugs. And once what you've spent with what your plan has spent reaches that year's threshold, this year it's $4,130, then you're no longer in that initial stage. You are in what used to be called the donut hole, and you'll still see that donut hole term around, but the coverage is better than it was. And I don't think there's any need to go into the history. It's still complicated, especially for brand name drugs, because manufacturers of drugs provide a very steep discount, and then the plan pays a small co-insurance amount, and then you pay the rest. For generic drugs, it's much more straightforward. But this is why when you shop for Part D plans, you need to look at the detail. But we're not going to burden this video with the shopping project, because it would just be too long. We'll make a separate video. So let's move to the catastrophic phase of the Part D benefit. Many people don't reach that, of course, thankfully. You reach catastrophic if in a given year your out-of-pocket drug expense exceeds $6,550. At that point, your co-insurance is supposed to be around 5% of the cost of your drug. So you would see the cost of your drugs at that point plummeting. And that would remain in effect for the remainder of the calendar year. There is no out-of-pocket maximum like there is with a group plan or a individual plan in the non-Medicare world. So once you reach the catastrophic phase, if you reach it, you're at that level for the remainder of the calendar year. In summary, Part D is maligned. I mean, I think it's unfortunate because it is such an important benefit. But it is a bit complicated, no doubt about it. But please take our advice. Always have drug coverage, and maintain it without a gap. We'll talk about the fact that you can change Part D plans because there's an annual Medicare enrollment period. So it's not a lifetime decision. You're not stuck with that Part D plan for the rest of your days, but it's still a serious decision, and you want to shop wisely. So I believe that will be our next video. How do you select a Part D plan? Thank you for listening. Take good care. Hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.